This episode is brought to you today by Prezi. If you're tired of giving boring PowerPoint slide decks, if you're tired of your prospects not paying attention, if you're tired of losing deals because people are just trying to focus on price, I'm telling you today, you need to check out Prezi because Prezi will help you to build value and to captivate the attention of everyone in your room. Think about this. Everyone who goes in as a seller and they're trying to present something, they're using PowerPoint and it's like bland. You need to find something that's going to, one, stand out, and find something, two, that can help you tell story that can build value easily. That is why you need Prezi. To learn more and get a demonstration, go to prezi.com/TSE. Again, prezi.com/TSE. I absolutely promise you, it will be totally worth it. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm excited. You excited? Everyone's excited. Our guest today is Mr. Noah Kagan. Yes, Mr. AppSumo himself. And Noah's going to give us some insights about what they did internally to grow Sumo to an 8-figure business. 8 figures. They used outbound and inbound strategy, and I'm telling you, it's an awesome organization. If you have not checked out Sumo, or check out AppSumo, you simply need to go to our show notes to salesevangelist.com/episode number 701. Again, the salesevangelist.com/episode number 701. We have all of the links, everything that you need right back there in the show notes. Noah's going to lay it out for us today. He is an awesome dude. He's a fun person to interview and just gives great insight. So we're going to have a good time chatting. So I would highly recommend, if you have not done so already, get a pen and paper or get your Evernotes ready. You want to listen to this episode over and over again because he's going to just lay it out for you that you cannot misunderstand. Cool? Well, let's go ahead and dive into it. Take us out, Mr. DJ. Welcome to the show, Noah.
What up? Thank you so much for having me, Donald. Donald, what's the C in the C Kelly?
I can't tell you, man. It's classified stuff, man.
Is that like part of the R. Kelly clan? There's like C, B, D.
No. That's a different side of the line, man. No.
People still love R. Kelly, though. I'll tell you, I saw that he was like performing this weekend, and people still go crazy for him.
They do, and I just don't get it. Like, people, they just love their R. Kelly stuff, man. But my C stands for Cecil, so there you go. You got it. You're the first guest to get it out of me. Way to go, Noah.
Man, that's my negotiation skills.
Mad skills. And that's why we're going to bring you on a show, man. You got some mad skills, you and your folks over at the AppSumo, man. And I gave you a little bit about you in the introduction, but tell us a little bit more about what are some of the magic you guys are working on over there, man.
Yeah, I'll just give you the brief background of this company. One of the things I recognized like 7 years ago was that the number one problem everyone was facing was getting more customers. And then the second thing is that I don't want to say I'm a cheap ass Jew at all, because I'm not. But I like a good deal. I like a good deal, and so I kind of put those together, and that's where we created AppSumo.com, which was the simplest way of explaining is like groupon for geeks, or daily deals or weekly deals for small business owners. It's a cool business, man. Like, we go out and find awesome tools to help small business owners. We negotiate a deal, and then we get to tell the million people or so on our mailing list about them, and somehow we make money doing this.
Well, that is amazing. I remember you guys had a deal a while back for Webinar Ninja, and my buddy was like, dude, you need to get this, man. It's like only $50 for lifetime access. I'm like, all right, man, I'll check it out. And then later it was gone. And I was like, dang it. I should have bought it when it was around. And I was like, this stuff is real. He's like, yeah, AppSumo is real. You buy these things.
It's real
Price.
So that, it's truth, man. It's definitely, it's where it's at for our business. It's been interesting just noticing how our deals have changed over the years and our business has changed. And I think that's like such a key lesson for all businesses, where some things are going to stay the same. So I think about In-N-Out Burgers. I don't know if you guys have that over on the East Coast.
We don't, but I love that place.
It's great, right? But their prices have probably changed a little bit, but for the most part, they found a formula that works. And so, but they haven't just kept the same 4 locations. Now they have hundreds of locations. And so I think the thing that I think about, and for other business owners to think about, is like, what's working in your business that you can then expand upon? And then what things in our business have not worked that we actually pull back on. So it's been a fun ride over the past 7 years. I can highlight some of the changes if you're interested.
Yeah, I would love to do that. And specifically, I want to hit up on some of the great success you guys have done through Outbound. Specifically, a lot of times I find sellers right now, they're like, man, we can't do outbound sales. It's, cold calling doesn't work, or outbound reach doesn't work. We're waiting for people to call us only. And you guys did some amazing things with both inbound and outbound. So I want to hit on that too a little bit.
Yeah. So we have 2 companies. So out of AppSumo, we created Sumo.com, which is our free email tools for online businesses. So I will say Sumo.com has been like 90% inbound sales, while AppSumo has been 90% outbound sales. And so I can talk about the different strategies that we've learned and figured out over the 7 years of doing this. So with AppSumo, we do have a form that's like, hey, if you want to be featured on us, submit your information. And 99% of those people are not going to be qualified deals for us to promote to our audience. Call them Sumolings. And so with the AppSumo model, like 90% again is outbound. And so the question is like, how do you get companies excited to want to talk to you? Because what I've realized, Donald, is that everyone is busy. You're busy. Everyone listening to this is busy. And so how do you make yourself a priority? Because everyone's already got a plan. And a lot of times with sales, you're actually having to change their plan to prioritize who you are. And I think you have to understand like who that customer is and what they need and figure out, all right, well, how can I help them with what they already need the most so they can prioritize you easily? So with AppSumo, our approach is pretty straightforward in that when we email people, the number one thing we focus on is how we're bringing them customers. And it says, hey, you want more customers. That's your number one priority. So our subject line is promoting you to 100,000 people. That's our subject line. So if someone emailed you, Donald, and they said, hey, I'm going to get you 10,000 downloads to your podcast, you probably open that email.
Shoot, I'm like all over that email and I'm scanning it. I'm looking everything on that email.
Yeah, well, because I know that you're doing a podcast and you want to grow your show. And so if I can align to what you're already doing, that's the start. And then in our email communication, a lot of it is trying to, how do we transition them to a phone call or a real-time chat as soon as possible? And so with the AppSumo promotion, it's, hey, promoting you to these people. Hey, we've worked with companies similar to yours. We've driven them 3,000 customers and we want to give you money. Do you have, and so this is two key things. I'll give you two key things that I've seen in sales over the past, 15 years I've been doing sales, mostly around online businesses. Two key things. One, obviously clear benefit, which I think people actually miss.
They do.
They actually give a benefit. They're like, hey, here's what I actually want. But, it's good for you too. So the clear benefit is we want to promote you to all these people and we're going to pay you. And wow, I want to get paid and more customers. Second thing is, hey, let's talk at this specific time. And I know that might seem kind of basic, but it just makes things really easy for people to be like, oh, okay, I can talk at that specific time. Most people will be like, they don't have a clear call to action or they don't make it really easy for binary answers, especially in the beginning. So that's kind of the first stage. The second part of that I just want to highlight that's, I would say, as critical is a follow-up. Almost 50%, if not more, of our communication with potential partners happens on our follow-up.
Yeah.
So if you're not using like, Yesware or Streak, or I use followup.cc, whatever tool you use, Mixmax, or put it in a Google Calendar or whatever it is, make sure you follow up because 50% of your replies will come on that follow-up.
So go back to the first part there where you're talking about the actual outreach. Sometimes I get sellers, which I totally agree with you on that. You got to be specific action, give specific result. But sometimes people are like, well, if I come across and say, I want to talk at this time, I'm pushing my priorities on top of theirs, and that might not necessarily work. Clearly, it has worked for you guys by giving a specific time, right? Is there anything you would speak to that? Why, to get people off that train of, I don't want to sound pushy when I give them a specific time?
So I don't think of it as pushy because I actually think I'm doing them a service. Like I genuinely believe in my heart with 100% certainty that this is an amazing thing for them. And so I feel like if I'm not trying to be, it's not pushy, and there's a fine line between aggressive and assertive. And I don't even think it's that. The way that I've always looked at sales is straight up like education. Yeah. Straight up. It's 100%. Hey, look, I think this is amazing for you. Number one, we need to go and help your business. This is the best thing for it to do. How is this time? And, we may even be more aggressive than you'd even realize because I'll send the calendar invite for that time.
Dude, I love it. I love
so I'll say, you'll get my calendar invite. You're like, he put me in his calendar already? I'm like, yeah. Because at the end of the day, I genuinely believe it's good. I think when people have that hesitation, they're either A, qualifying the wrong prospect, so they're hitting up someone that probably they can't help, or B, they need to figure out, like, is this really that valuable for the person I'm contacting? And if not, how do I refocus at that? I always call it like the totem pole theory where, on the totem pole, how important are you? Where I was selling my previous company, I sold credit card payment processing and virtual currency. And I'll tell you, man, like that was a crappy hard sell. That was a really tough sell. Because, at the end of the day, they could just take me out and use another provider, whoever was the cheapest. Yeah. And so it made it a much harder thing to actually prioritize getting me to those meetings. So I had to be a lot more creative.
Yeah, and I feel that's where a lot of sellers kind of come short too. It's like I don't know. I think there's no school really on, selling, go to college for it. But I think there's some kind of secret school underground thing where you are all taught to be the same as a sales rep. And, we're supposed to be stupid and we're supposed to say the same old boring stuff. But I feel that so often when I evaluate companies, sometimes they all, when it comes to like, sales rep, they all look like they got the same exact PowerPoint, the same exact presentation. And there's no creativity in it, none whatsoever. So then I make a decision based on price, like many other prospects out there, right?
Well, and I think the function is here's a very simple way, especially if you're doing email. Email is so passive, and I hate email because I love email because it's scalable and all this stuff, but it's so passive and you're waiting. And the second thing is that this is a very simple equation that people can do if they want to make more money. Your responses and your replies is a direct input of how much time you're spending on that email. And let me repeat it. For how many replies and success you get from people responding to you, maybe text, maybe email, maybe whatever it is, it's a function of how much you're putting up front. And I get emails every day that's like, hey, can I guest post? Hey, can you come be a teacher here? Hey, I want to sell you the service for Sumo, your Sumo business stuff. And the ones that get through, it's obvious that they've put a little bit of time in just, hey, I saw you doing this in your business and I recognize that and I saw that. And, here's why I think this is actually really important. Do you have 10 minutes on this day to talk about it? I'm like, all right, this guy or girl understands and has put in the work. Where most people, I think they don't put in the work ultimately. And that's why they're like, oh, I wonder why I'm not getting my results. I'm like, I know why.
Because you're crap. You're putting in crap.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was reading an article today where there's a pill to get a 6-pack. And I was like, okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I'm like, it's called just don't eat. That's the secret. Don't eat and you'll get your 6-pack. Or guess what? You have to go eat healthy and put in some exercise. And in 6 months, you'll get a 6-pack.
Wow. And there's everyone wants to try to find that easy, quick, no work. But, oftentimes you find that doesn't necessarily is the truth. You got to put some work and put some grit into it, put some grind, and you'll see great results. So,
well, I think the thing you have to, part of that as well is that you have to figure out who's the right customer. And then what's the story that every time, like, here's how I know when I'm doing great in sales. This is my personal experience. And I can tell you the people I've learned from, because I always think people like hearing that stuff too. I know when I'm doing sales is great when it's boring. When it's boring.
Please explain.
When it's boring. The more boring sales is, the better you're doing. Because what that means is that that when if I get Donald on the phone and Donald has an orange juice stand and I sell ice and I know that I have the best ice in the world at the best price and I could overservice him for what he needs for his juice stand, that I just get on the phone. I'm like, yep. All right, here's where we're going to give me your credit card. And I think, with AppSumo and as well as Sumo.com, we started to get to those levels. And it's not that it's about arrogance. It's more when we contact the person we believe we can truly help, then it's, a disservice for us to not educate them and make them a customer of ours.
Yeah.
And so with AppSumo and Sumo, both of them have, we have very documented sales process so that we can hire someone in less than a week. They can be following the sales methods that we use.
There's something that I love what you shared. There's a method and there's a process. So you're able to do this. And I think that's why you guys have seen such ridiculous success, right? Is, something that's done over and over again. You whitewash, you can take anybody in and that person can follow that process and find success. Would you agree on that?
Yeah. I mean, and it's also figuring out the right salespeople for your culture. So you may be a very passive sales company and there's no right or wrong. Like there's many different ways of eating a Reese's peanut butter cup. And it's the same with your sales. You may be passive people. You may be really aggressive. You may be really happy. Ultimately you have to figure out what works for you. And so for us, it's a much more a story based. It's much more educational based. And it's not a heavy push sale. Like one of the things that we've been experimenting with recently, Bar's been doing at Sumo.com is as we're talking to customers that are e-commerce and it says like, oh, you have e-commerce? And if we help you grow your email list, you'll make like more money. And here's the math. And like, this sounds like something that you would want, right? Here, look, let me just get it set up for you right now. How does that sound? So that tomorrow and by the end of today, you'll have results. Great. All right, Let's put your credit card in so that we can get this stuff activated and unlocked and I'll actually set it up with you in real time. And, connecting that experience to the customer with the story is part, as an experiment. And if it works, then we add it back into our overall process.
Yeah, dude, love that.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Noah's going to lay it out even further for us, some of the basic things that you can do and some of the things that they have done to just catapult their organization into what it is today. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. On Tuesday's episode, which was 699, I had Mark on the show, and Mark talked about getting local leads. One of the things that I've tried to do a lot lately is to focus on my own backyard, really, like focus on people right back here and to give presentations and to get out and to speak. So I spoke at this networking event in Palm Beach Gardens, and one of the things that I did, and you know me, I always try to stand out. In order to be successful, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. So I brought in my computer and I set up and I did my Prezi. I utilized Prezi for that presentation and it was like mind blowing. They loved the content. I had folks who were getting excited and they were interested in TSE Hustlers League and all that stuff. But people came up afterwards and was asking about the presentation, they're like, that's not PowerPoint. What is it? And it was Prezi. And that's how powerful this tool is. It captivates the audience attention and it gives them an opportunity to learn a little bit more because they're focused on, just something different than just a boring slide deck. I highly recommend you check out Prezi. Simply go to prezi.com/TSE. Again, prezi.com/TSE. It will be totally worth it for you and your team. Hey, as we dive into the second half of this episode here, Noah's going to lay it out even further for us. Some of the things that he's doing right now and they have done to get their company, Sumo, to 8 figures. That's amazing. It's amazing. So let's get those pens back up and ready and let's go ahead and dive into the content.
There's a couple other things I want to get to. I wish we can keep it for a couple hours here and chatting.
Let's do it, man. I love it. I love talking about this stuff. It's just like, with sales, the things I've learned, I've learned this from Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Evan from Get Altitude. What's his last name? Evan Pagan. I think there's 2 parts with sales, which is one, maybe there's 3, but one, go learn from the master. Zig Ziglar's put a bunch out there. Ultimate Sales Machine.
Yeah.
Spin Selling. These books are phenomenal. They're all, you can get them really cheap or go on YouTube. The second thing is go find a product that you just love. So for me, I don't think I've ever sold because I'm just finding products that I was always about. And I was always believed truly that I need to go give this out to the world. And when people don't give me money, I'm like, dude, this is bad for you. And I think that type of conviction and putting that in a process so we can make it consistent has helped us do relatively well over the years.
There's one of the principles I love from, just overall, just selling is that when you find something of worth, you're willing to do whatever you can. And I this is what I love about and all the stuff that you guys are doing. You have your passion and everything just deep into it because again, you believe it, you know it, you've seen it. And I think so many sellers, they don't believe what they sell. They just do it for the money, right? They're just in there trying to get that commission. But if I had a cure for cancer, you believe you me, I'm going to talk to everybody in the world about it. Even if they say no the first time, it's my job is to let you know. Moral obligation is how I define that.
I think so. And, there is some times where, look, you're going to have a crappy job or you're going to have a company you don't really believe in it. And then use that as a time to really improve and hone your skills. So, if you read a lot of the famous biographies of anyone successful, they had some hard parts, but they also had parts where it was just they had a grind. So they had to put in a year or 2 of just practice. And that's a good time you could do it. If you can get good selling something really hard, it makes it easier when it's something that you actually believe in. One thing that I just want to give a recommendation is that one of our guys, Bar, who was one of our first people at sumo.com, and I would actually say for everyone at AppSumo and Sumo on our sales teams, I think we're really strong with feedback. And it doesn't mean that, Donald, hey, I don't like your interviews. You should just do this. And you say, okay, I'll do whatever people tell me to do. But I think it's 2 things. It's listening for feedback or asking for it, and then deciding what do you think will actually help you. And I think as a company, we're, I would say, humble enough to say, hey, how can we have improved that sale? Or, hey, why didn't we get that sale? All right, how can we make that better for the next one? And I think you continually do that. You'll always improve and always get better.
So we hit on so many good stuff here so far, man. I want to go back to the growth because you guys mentioned about the email and you guys are doing some pretty good stuff. You focus those emails and you've seen some good success. What are some of the things you guys are doing that brought you this ridiculous amount of success with getting 8 figures?
Well, I wouldn't say it's ridiculous. It's been a long grind, man. It sucks most of the time. And, once in a while, I get to talk with you about it. But a lot of the times we're grinding it out. I think things that have really helped us are having direct communication. So text messaging or Skype access to our customers or partners. I think a lot of times we have email addresses and you're waiting on it. And ultimately, this is what it comes down to at the end of the day. Are we driving results for these other people? And are we, what sales is to some extent is you're selling an expectation and then they have to have some confidence whether you're going to deliver on that. And it has to be very important for them. And if you can do it, then you should be as rich as you want to be. And we go to people that we believe we can help, tell them what we can do, show them that we can, and then we deliver on that. And you could find something that you could do on that. I don't think there's a limit for any business. One other thing I would just highlight is that for anyone doing sales, if you're listening to this podcast and you want to be better in sales, here's the stupidest, easiest thing you can do. Record your next sales call, record your next sales email, whatever it is. Get it transcribed so you can go to trint.com or rev.com or transcribe it yourself and record it and have the text and then sit with someone that you think will give you honest, critical feedback and then go through your sales pitch and go through your sales process. And I promise you'll improve. And you do that on a monthly basis. There's no way that you can't get better. Yeah,
because you're competing against yourself essentially, right?
Totally. And I think Anton's done a great job at Sumo and Eamon. It's not me anymore. It's Eamon and Anton are running the sales teams. And I think they do a
big shout out to those guys.
Yeah, dude, big shout out. It's all of them. It's not me. But those guys, I think they've done two things really well. One, I think they've set good goals. And I think that's a key thing in sales we haven't really talked about. But they've set clear goals, like how many calls you need a day or how many revenue you need to do. So it gives really good targets for their salespeople. And I think they've done an amazing job coaching and really trying to help people hone their sales pitches and their sales processes to make them very effective.
What are some of the, give me an idea, what is an internal person at your team? What's some of the goals that they have as far as the amount of outbound calls or things of that nature? Any of those KPIs you're willing to share?
Yeah, for sure. So, and I'll tell you, as I said in the beginning, businesses evolve. And if you're not evolving in your sales skills, then something's missing. It's the same as in a business. So for example, with Outbound, he has a certain MRR, which is monthly recurring revenue, he needs to generate every month. He makes a certain amount of salary each year, and then he needs to make that much in sales to pay for himself. And so each month he's got a target. And I think I don't know what his exact target is. It's probably somewhere between 1,000 to 3,000 MRR. And that, with a lot of sales, it's just math. It's like, well, how many demos do I need to get on? All right. Well, how many emails do I need to get replies to? How many emails do I need to send? And it's an equation, right? So if I send 100 emails, 50 will reply, 3 will get on demos, 1 closes, and that'll generate this much money. All right. Well, I know how many I need to do to hit my target. And I think the two things that are nice about that is it creates repeatability, but two, it also identifies bottlenecks. Meaning that we notice with our outbound process that the sales guy is actually limited because he can only email so many people a day because it's hard to do that and get on the phone with them. And so now we're actually splitting up that responsibilities to have someone from our sales development team help him set up more meetings so that he can just be on the phone closing all day. And because of tracking, as I was saying earlier, and knowing his target, it's like, oh, cool, I can easily hit my target or surpass it by removing a bottleneck around it.
Yeah, I love that idea too. There was a guy I interviewed a while back, and he talked about the assembly line model, right? And it's nothing crazy new, but we find that sometimes in sales, especially in small companies, people will just have one salesperson. You have to find, you have to prospect, you have to close, you have to manage the count and all of this stuff after. But if you were to break it up and put those people like you're doing, you're saying you have the assembly line, somebody's finding and somebody's closing. You just focus on that one thing that drives you result, and you become perfected at that thing, right?
Yeah. So I think that's really important is that a lot of people read a book, like you'll read Sales Acceleration Formula by Mark Roberge, which is an amazing book. I really highly recommend it for tech sales. And then they just go copy it.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's what he's doing. I'll just copy everything. And I think the understanding of how things are going is actually really important about like, why are you making these changes? And so with our sales guy, he's got to be in a certain amount of demos per month to hit his goal. And he's like, I can't do this because I'm spending half of my time. So look at where you're spending your time relative to where you're making your money. He's like, I'm spending 50% of my time on setting up meetings when I make 100% of my money just being on meetings, which is only 50% of my time. So it's like, well, let's have you spend 100% of your time on these calls, demos, and find someone else who's a little bit more affordable and can specialize in just setting up those meetings.
Yeah. It's get the maximum result for your bang for your buck. But let's go over to some of the other things. What are some of the other keys that you would say helped you guys and helped your sales to perform so well over the years?
I mean, it's two separate things. So on one hand, with AppSumo, it was outbound. So, I think the hardest part with AppSumo was actually figuring out the prospect list. So who should we be contacting?
Yeah.
And that's been 7 years of trying a bunch of different formulas. So I don't have the exact model for that. It's, we've figured out where can we find these people? How can we see what our customers like ahead of time? How do we reduce the likelihood it won't be a bad deal for our business? And so that model worked well for us. And so not every model, which is, I guess, a good takeaway, will work for everyone. Because with Sumo.com, it's a free product to use, but we have premium offerings, and it's a almost entirely inbound sales process. So the bigger challenge here would be we have 1,000 people sign up a day. Like, who's actually qualified to get on the phone, and what price point actually makes sense to have a sales team? And so that's definitely been in the past 18 months something that we've had a lot of iterations around.
Well, how do you if somebody's out there like, man, I know I want to do some kind of inbound. I want to get some kind of inbound coming into my company. What's the first thing they should even think about? Should they just start a blog? Should they start a podcast? Or what did you guys do to start generating traffic?
It's a good question to think about. We didn't actually go say, hey, we're going to have an inbound sales team. We originally said, let's have a self-serve model. And what we noticed was that there was a lot of larger companies signing up signing up but not ever paying. And we're like, why is that? And so we just started calling them, and they're like, well, we're a larger company, so we actually want to be sold to, and we have questions. And so I'd say overall, either offer your product for free or some other type of product for free as lead gen or blogging or podcast or video. And it's kind of an education model. And then if you're like, wow, people actually need to talk to me, try calling a few of them and seeing if it makes a difference. I think the problem that we face with some of our inbound sales is who to talk to. because we had such a buffet of different types of customers. So we had, a blog versus New York, Times kind of site versus the Chai versus, a small e-commerce business. And so figuring out what's the right price point and right offering for these different types of customers. But yeah, to your point, I think you're exactly right. Put out different types of content. I think what most people do with inbound incorrectly is either their freemium offering is crappy or they're putting out blog posts that no one's reading. They're like, oh, I blogged. Where's my inbound customer? I'm like, well, no one wants, it's not just a magical thing, right? And inbound is not the only way of doing it. But one way of considering that is that can you directly contact someone with an article you think will be beneficial for them and maybe do a little bit of a hybrid model, at least to begin with? I think too many people do marketing and then they hope that customers will magically come. Like, oh, if I post it on LinkedIn, someone will magically read it. It's like, no. Like, are you figuring out, are you going out to people? Are you trying to understand what people like? Are you adjusting your messages? And, kind of being aware of that. I think most people are not.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one, man. Well, dude, I wish we could stay here for another hour and chat further. I mentioned that earlier, but I'm telling you guys, I'm going to put all kinds of stuff into the show notes to get connected with you, Noah. But if there's one major takeaway you want somebody listening to this episode to walk away with today, what's that one major piece of advice?
The two pieces of advice is number one, find something that you just love. So look at what you're already giving money to. Look at what's on your phone, whatever that is. Just look at what you already love. And secondly, when you're going to sales, I think the easiest way to do well in sales is don't think of yourself as a salesperson. Just think of yourself as an educator. And if you go to someone and you're saying, hey, I just want to educate you on things that I think will really help your business, at the end of the day, you're going to be successful.
Boom. Love it. And if folks out there want to get in touch with you, what's the best thing they should do? Go to AppSumo. Where should it go to find you?
Yeah. So if you're a small business owner and you want great deals to grow your business, AppSumo.com. If you want tools to grow your email list, check out Sumo.com. And for me, if you like hearing this nasally voice, check out Noah Kagan Presents podcast in podcast world.
Awesome, man. Well, we'll definitely put that link in our show notes, man, Noah, and so folks can get access to you. But we really appreciate you taking time to come on our show today, sharing some insights and helping us to improve our selling skills. So thanks again.
Thanks, boss. I'll talk to you soon, Donald.
I'm telling you, Noah gave us some info today. Noah came and preach. He came and shared some insights. And I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, you need to connect with Mr. AppSumo himself. Go learn from Noah and some of the cool things they're doing. We have everything in our show notes. Episode number 701, thesalesevangelist.com/word episode number 701. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/word episode number 701. AppSumo has some amazing tools for all types of businesses, and I highly recommend that you check some of them out. Speaking about tools, I highly recommend that you check out Prezi as well. If you haven't used Prezi, if you've never used it before, this is your first time hearing about it, or if you've heard about it before but just didn't know how it works, I recommend that you go to prezi.com/TSE. Prezi.com/TSE. That's PREZI.com/TSE. I've been using the tool and it's been just like mind blown for my clients and for prospects. They're like, what is that? It's a powerful way to express myself and to share value and to present value to my customers. So I recommend you check it out. I ditched PowerPoint a long time ago and I recommend that you check out Prezi. To learn more, go to prezi.com/TSE. All in all, I share this content. I share all this great stuff. I bring folks like Noah on our show because I want to help you. I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy. But most importantly, I want you to go out each and every day and do big things.